record to this computer. Okay. Okay, we are now recording. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this lovely rainy day on the exciting topic of how to file a Medicare appeal and the appeals process. So here's what I'm going to be discussing today. You know, what is an appeal? The Medicare beneficiary's appeal rights, when to file an appeal, you know, how to appoint a representative, how to file an appeal in regional Medicare, how to file an appeal in a Medicare Advantage plan, and how to file a Part D appeal. Plus, I'm going to give some, you know, Medicare resources and tips on filing an appeal. Of course, you know, what is an appeal? An appeal is an action you take if you disagree with a coverage or payment decision made by Medicare, your Medicare health plan, or your Medicare prescription drug plan. So, of course, everyone that has Medicare has appeal rights, no matter what they are in, either in a regional Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan. So, those appeal rights are that beneficiaries can request an appeal of healthcare coverage or payment decisions if, one, a service or item they received isn't covered or you think it should have been, payment for a service or item is denied and you think Medicare should have paid for it, or you disagree with a Medicare coverage or payment decision. You can appeal, you know, the decision. For example, if you think Medicare actually paid for something and you don't think they should have, that way also. So when to file an appeal? You can file an appeal, you know, your request, if your Medicare or your plan denies any of these, your request to get a healthcare service, item, or drug you think should have been covered, provided, or continued. For example, sometimes, like if someone's wanting one of those scooters or something like that, in order to get that paid for, Medicare has to, you have to get that prior approved. If Medicare denies that, then you can file an appeal on that. Your request for payment for a Medicare service, item, or drug, you already got. So if Medicare denies something, your request to change the amount you pay for a healthcare service, item, or drug. So these are all reasons that you can actually file an appeal. If you decide to appeal, the best thing to do is ask your doctor, you know, healthcare provider, supplier, anything for more information, get records, anything like that. For example, I had to help a gentleman file an appeal for his CPAP machine. Medicare actually denied it. And he'd already had all the prerequisites in order to get a CPAP machine. Like he'd already had a sleep study, and I mean all of that. All the boxes were checked, yet Medicare denied it. So we got, helping him walk him through this appeal, we got as much documentation. Like we got the prescription from the doctor, we got the sleep study, a copy of that. We've got all the medical records to go along with that, and we sent it all with the appeal. So it took some time to do all that, but you know, it helped him win the appeal. So 5 things to know when filing an appeal. If you decide to file an appeal, you know, as I said, ask your doctor for any other information, even the doctor writing a letter, you know, saying that this is medically necessary, why it's medically necessary, you know, your diagnosis, anything that the doctor can provide is of great help when filing an appeal. If you think your health could be seriously harmed by waiting for a decision on this, you can actually ask for a fast decision. If you plan on, you know, doctor agrees the plan they actually have to make a decision within 72 hours. You actually must do this in writing if you can, and they actually have to submit the decision to you in writing. So after you submit the appeal, the plan will review its decision. Then if your plan doesn't decide in your favor, the appeal is reviewed by an independent organization. I'll go through all the different steps later. if you believe, if the beneficiaries believe they're being discharged from the hospital too soon, they have the right to an immediate review, and that they have to go through KIPRO, who is our Medicare contractor, who is our Beneficiary and Family Center Quality Improvement Organization, who is KIPRO. So they have to call KIPRO and ask for an immediate, or either the beneficiary, caregiver, someone has to ask for that, so that they can, will be able to stay in the hospital at no charge, without having to be kicked out. And the hospital can't force you to leave before the Beneficiary and Family Center Quality Improvement Organization has actually made their decision. And of course, you have the right to, fast track your appeals. So can someone actually file an appeal on your behalf? Yes, they can. You can actually have you can appoint a authorized representative to actually file an appeal on your behalf. SHIP can help you file an appeal. That's why I'm doing training for you all. So you all, if someone comes to you and you need help file an appeal, y'all know what to do. So SMP can help file an appeal. As I said, beneficiaries can appoint a representative, and the representative can be, family member, friend, advocate, attorney, another doctor. So this is someone who can act on their behalf if they don't feel comfortable doing this. And there's actually a form, how to appoint a representative form. So hang on just a second. I'm going to share the form if I can find it real fast. Okay, I can't find it real fast. Sorry, I can't find it real fast. I thought I had it up here real fast, but I guess I don't. But, well, maybe. But here's the form. It's the appoint a representative form. You can find that, just in CMS. Look it up. It's real, or, sometimes if you're going through your Advantage plan, sometimes they have different forms on what you have to fill out. But I highly recommend, if you're needing help with an appeal, have them appoint a representative. And this is not someone that has to have a, power of attorney or anything like that. It can be someone with a power of attorney, but it doesn't have to be. And this appointment is actually only good for 1 year. So of course they can, so the representative can, submit appeals on their behalf. And of course, you send, if you're in original Medicare, you send, the appeals usually go to the MAC. So appointing a representative, so that they can represent, to appoint a representative, the party representative must complete the appointment form, or another written document that must be signed and dated by the party and the representative. So everybody has to sign it. Include a statement appointing the representative to act on your behalf. So they don't have to fill out that form, but then they have to have, another written document stating all these things. It has to be signed and dated. The statement, there has to be a statement appointing the representative, to act on, the party's behalf, including a written explanation for the purpose and scope of the representation. Include the names, phone numbers, address of the party and the representative. Include the representative's, professional status or relationship to the party. For example, if it's an attorney or something like that. Contain a representative party's unique identifier. That means, the beneficiary's, Medicare number needs to be on there. If the party is a provider or supplier, then they will need, in that document, they need the national provider identifier number. Be filled with the entity processing the party's initial determination or appeal. And I said, the appointment is valid for 1 year. From the date of the party and appointment representative sign the document. So it's good for 1 year once they sign the document. Here's what one actually looks like, the actual form. So it's pretty easy to fill out. They do have to sign it. I don't think it has to be witnessed, but it does have to be actually signed. So And one part of it is actual form, the other one is how, pretty much how to fill it out and things like that. So how to appeal in a regional Medicare. Now, most of you all know, that there is 5 levels of appeal for Medicare. So how does someone find out if they need to appeal something? One of the things that they need to really do is look at their Medicare summary notices. It will say on there if the claim was approved or not, if it was denied. Usually down there under the notes, it'll say why it was denied. So they really need to look at those as to see. So the first point of contact is their Medicare summary notice or their explanation of benefits. And of course, that Medicare summary notice tells, what Medicare paid, what you might owe the provider or supplier, if Medicare fully or partially denied the claim. It'll say in there why Medicare didn't pay or why they denied it. It gives your appeal rights and everything like that. Very last page of the Medicare summary notice, y'all know, and I pointed this out during trainings before, is this is where you go to file an appeal. It goes step by step. On the very last page, it also gives you how much time you have to appeal. Now, you have to submit the appeal 120 days from the date of that Medicare summary notice. So keep that in mind. And actually, the date is actually on the very last page. Of course, if you disagree with the decision, you can always file an appeal, collect any information, anything that could help, keep a copy of everything. That's another thing to keep in mind. And you also have the right to a fast appeal. So as I said, make sure if you're looking at someone's Medicare summary notice or explanation of benefits, make sure you're reading the notes, because it'll have listed at the bottom why it was denied, and I'll actually have listed the local coverage determination. It'll have the number there, and you can actually look that number up and get more detail as to why it was denied. That's what I do a lot of times, saying why was this denied, because sometimes they'll say, it wasn't medically necessary. Somehow then that goes back to the doctor didn't, specify that it was actually medically necessary or something like that. So look at the notes and look at the the local coverage determination numbers. Those come in really handy. So of course, how to file an appeal. If you need help filing an appeal, and I'm hoping the beneficiary has brought their Medicare summary notice into you, the whole thing. Then, find the very last page of this Medicare summary notice. And this is for original Medicare, keep in mind. I'll go over Advantage plans later. But find the very last page, because this is pretty much the appeals form you can use. And I said, it states, it gives more, get more details. Here, if you disagree with an appeal decision, this is the date over here on number 2. Right here, this gives the date as to when Medicare has to receive the appeal by. If Medicare does not receive the appeal by this date, they don't have to look at it unless there's extenuating circumstances. And you would have to prove the extenuating circumstances. For example, some that we've dealt with before is a beneficiary recently got diagnosed with dementia. Pretty severe dementia, and she wasn't looking at her Medicare summary notices, anything like that. She kept getting bills, and her family finally figured this out, and something like that. So there was those extenuating circumstances. So if there's something like that, beneficiary was in a coma or in the hospital for so long, and they didn't have any family members or anything like that, that's an extenuating circumstances. That they can prove, so that they can actually submit appeals on behalf of the beneficiary, whatever, past this date. So if you need help with an appeals, this has back here, call Medicare, call SHIP, things like that. But if you're with a beneficiary and you're having to help them file an appeal, find the very last page and go to the appeals form, file an appeal in writing. And the appeal actually does have to be in writing. So keep that in mind. So what you do, if they've got the Medicare summary notice in front of them, you go back and you circle the service or claim that you disagree with, that they disagreed with, explain in writing. So this is where either the beneficiary has to write something out, type something out, you have to type something out with the beneficiary. I've done that before. So make sure that Medicare can, make sure it's legible so that Medicare can actually read it, or the contractor, I keep saying Medicare, sorry. The contractor can actually read it. And that way, they can, understand it. Because if they can't read it, then it's, it doesn't help at all. Next thing is fill out the blanks, which is, your representative's, name, telephone number where, the contractor can get in contact with you, and their complete, the beneficiary's Medicare number. So step 4, include any other information you have about the appeal. I said this is where the other documentation would really come in handy, and you can attach with it. Make sure that you put their Medicare number on every sheet of paper that you're going to be mailing in. Next, make sure you make a copy of everything that you're going to be mailing in. And this is just good tricks, because sometimes you may be mailing their only, like, their original or something like that. That way, Medicare does lose stuff. So just keep that in mind. So that's why it's very important to make a copy of everything. Make a copy of the Medicare summary notice, make a copy of any documents, you're going to be attaching, the explanation, anything and everything. Make a copy of it. And then the next thing is you mail it to the address that is shown down here at the bottom of the Medicare summary notice. And it goes Medicare claims office, care of, the contractor's name. It depends on, I think here it's Palmetto, but they change a lot. So just keep in mind, that's why it's very important to have the Medicare summary notice. It's been GHB or GBH or something like that. It's been Palmetto. It goes back and forth as to who actually has that contract. So keep that in mind. As I said, right now I think it's Palmetto, but it has their address and where you mail it to. So that's how you file an appeal in original Medicare. I said the very important thing that you need to make sure is the date that is on the back of the Medicare summary notice. Make sure you're mailing it in prior to that date, several days. And beneficiaries do not need to wait to file an appeal. If they get their Medicare summary notice and Medicare has denied something, they do not need to wait. They need to go ahead and file an appeal. Even if they have to submit documentation later, the good thing is go ahead and file the appeal as fast as possible. So as I said, here's the last part, make sure you're mailing it to the correct address. So make sure you're looking at their Medicare summary notice. So how to do a fast appeal? They actually have the right to a fast and expedited appeal. And most of these are if they're being discharged too soon. If you think covered services are ending too soon, like a skilled nursing facility, home health, like if that's ending, they think that's ending too soon, hospice, anything like that, they can ask for a fast appeal or expedited appeal. Ask the provider for any information to go along with that expedited appeal. Call the KIPRO, who is a contractor, who is our beneficiary and family center, care improvement organization, no later than the date you're scheduled to be discharged from the hospital. So the faster that you walk in, get that call to them, the faster KIPRO can make their decision. But I said before that the hospital can't kick you out until KIPRO has made their decision. Of course, keep in mind, cost could still, play in mind. So here's the appeals process. There is 5 levels of appeals. Level 1 is it's called the redetermination by the Medicare Administrative Contractor, the MAC. So it's a redetermination of the MAC. And then it goes, level 2 is the reconsideration by qualified independent contractor, QIC. And then level 3 is the disposition by Office of Medicare Hearings and Appeals. And then that's usually, and then level 4 is review of the Medicare Approves Council. And level 5 is judicial review in the U.S. District Court. Now, most appeals I have dealt with before has not got to level 5. Usually they've stopped at level 3, where it's the administrative law judge. But I said I haven't got to 4 or 5. Have any of you all got to 4 or 5? I'm going to ask. You all can unmute yourselves if you want to. I'm just curious who's gotten to 4 or 5, level 4 or 5. Nobody?
Do you see the question in the chat?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Let's see here. I've got a question. I had a lady whose insulin for her insulin pump started to be denied in January after Medicare had been paying for it for years. We tried calling Medicare, the SHIP hotline, I'm guessing or SHIP line, and the agent did not know of any way to expedite her appeal. Okay. Insulin for the insulin pump. So that's under Part B. Yeah, I mean, you could, I don't know if you could call Kipro. Kipro might help with that expedited appeal, because that's a denial of service or something. Or you could just call and I'm surprised the Medicare SHIP line did not know how to file an expedited appeal. Yeah, you might try calling Kipro. See if that might work, or if they have any recommendations. Maybe. See if that might work. Or call them back to the SHIP hotline to see if, you might get a different person that actually might know what they're doing. Sometimes the providers can actually submit, appeals. I don't know who the provider, they were getting their insulin from, but they might be able to file an appeal. Or, yeah, since it's not Part D, you would definitely have to go through Part B. B as in boy. Okay, so I haven't seen any that have really done any past 4 or 5. I've only, got to level 3. So, okay. So I'm going to go through each level, process level, because each of them have different requirements. So, the first level, you have to, you must request a redetermination with 120 days of the date of the Medicare summary notice. Of course, that appeal really needs to be in writing if you can. And then they've actually got how long does it take to make a decision? They've got actually 60 days unless you ask for an expedited appeal. So they've got 60 days to make that determination. So who makes that decision? The MAC actually does. The MAC, the Medicare, contractor actually makes that decision. And then, there's the appeals process. If they, if they deny, if they deny it, then, you go to your second level, and there's things you have to do for your first level. So just, keep on going, follow the instructions on that one if they deny it, because they'll list, give you instructions on how to go to the next level. So when must you file, and this one's called reconsideration, what's it called? By a qualified independent contractor. So you've got 180 days from that notice to file the appeal, and the QIC makes the recommendation or independently reviews the administrative record, including the redetermination. And that's usually like a panel of physicians or other healthcare professionals review those medical necessity, issues as part of the reconsideration. So this is like a panel of doctors and stuff like that. So how long do they have to make for the second level? Is they have 60 days from the receipt of the request for reconsideration. So they have 60 days. And here it says, if you do not get a decision on the reconsideration within 6 days, consider allowing additional 5 to 10 days for, mail delays. And here lately, we have a ton of mail delays, so keep that in mind. So the third level is by, disposition of the Office of Medicare Hearings and Appeals. So when must you file that one by? You've got 60 days. From the receipt of the reconsideration decision letter. So you've got 60 days. And who actually, how do I file a request? Usually, the second level, if there's instructions on how to file that appeal. Of course, you may also request an administrative, law judge hearing by completing, there's actually a form request for administrative law judge hearing or review of dismissal. So there's that form you can actually complete. Usually that form comes along with the second level redetermination. Is there a minimum AIC requirement? Yes. And AIC means pretty much amount, dollar amount. So you may request an administrative law judge hearing only if a certain dollar amount remains in controversy. And I don't have that dollar amounts. But in the other two, the first and second level, there is not a minimum, dollar amount. Now, in the administrative law judge, there is a minimum dollar amount, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. Of course, it says it's updated annually. So, I mean, you can go in at third level of appeals AIC threshold. You can look at that to see. As I said, the one I was dealing with was a CPAP machine, and those are pretty expensive. So, I'm not sure exactly, what the dollar amount is. So, of course, this goes to the administrative law judge or attorney adjuster, whatever they may call themselves. So how long do they have to make the decision? So, here lately, due to the record number of appeals requests, delays, continue for the administrative law judge. So there's been several delays. So there's really not a set date on, time frame for them to make the appeal, the decision. Usually, if we probably weren't in a pandemic, I think it was 120 days when I was dealing with the one earlier. But there's no set date right now. So the fourth level, if the administrative law judge says I agree with Medicare's, not paying for it, go to the fourth level. When must you file? You've got, you must file your request for council review within 60 calendar days of the receipt of the decision or dismissal. And how do you do that? You file your request in writing by following the instructions. The request for review of administrative law judge Medicare decision dismissal. There's that form, and that'll be all accompanied with usually the decision letter if it's not in your favor. So of course, who makes this decision? Is there a minimum AIC requirement? No, there's not. Who makes the decision? The council makes the decision, and the council is made up of a lot of different people, usually like doctors, things like that. The council may deny review or remand the case to the administrative law judge, or they can say, well, we're not even going to look at it. If the council cannot complete its decision in the applicable time frame, it informs you of your rights and procedures to escalate the case to the U.S. District Court. So if they say we can't make the decision within the time frame, then we'll bump you can bump it up to the U.S. District Court. Generally, the council issues a decision within like 90 days. If the council review stems from an escalated appeal, the council has 180 days from the date of receipt of the request for escalation of the issue. So, of course, the decision may take longer. So keep that in mind. So that's the 4th level. And the 5th level, if you get up to the 5th level, you've got 60 days to respond. And how do you file the request? Just follow the instructions in that. The council, council decision will informs you how to file a claim in the U.S. District Court. So, is there a minimum AIC? Yes, there is. And you can actually look these up in the 5th level of appeal AIC threshold. Of course, it is updated annually, and I don't know what that is. So of course, who makes that decision? The U.S. District Court. And keep in mind, the court may take forever on making, how the court system is. It's very, very slow. It could take years before they make a decision. So here's the appeals process, kind of like in a summary. Who it does, when must you request an appeal, when should you get a decision by, that sort of thing. Is the AIC yes or no? So that's a real handy tool if you're helping someone file an appeal. So that's the original Medicare. So how do you file an appeal if they have a Medicare Advantage plan? Of course, you have the same rights in a Medicare Advantage plan or other prescription or other health plans. You have the same rights. You have the, you have the right to request an appeal to resolve differences with your plan. You can actually access your case file, anything like that. You can present evidence to support your case, and of course, ask for an expedited appeal if you really need a fast answer. And of course, same with the Advantage plan, you have the right to an expedited appeal if you think you're being discharged too soon, or if you think any of those, skilled nursing, HHA, or is ending too soon. Same way with the Advantage plan, ask your doctor, provider, supplier, for any additional information. Again, you go through the same contractor. Especially if you're getting discharged from the hospital too soon, you have to go through KIPRO. Same thing. So keep in mind, if you miss a deadline, you can ask the plan for your appeal, but different rules apply. So Medicare Advantage plan, the best thing to do if you're dealing with the Medicare Advantage plan is start with the plan first. Contact them first and foremost and say, hey, you denied this, I want to file an appeal. So the standard process, you know, is a 14-day time limit. Payment is 60-day time limit. Part B drug is 72-hour time limit. So that's it for the Medicare Advantage plans. Then if you don't agree with that, you know, the first level of appeal is the health plan reconsideration. You got, you know, 30-day time limit, you know, 60-day for payment, and, you know, 7-day for Part B drug. So that's the, you know, first level of appeal for the Advantage plan. And then after the Advantage plan, you've got the IRE, automatic forwarding to the IRE if plan reconsider opposed denial. So the IRE reconsideration, I'm not certain who the contractor is for that. But then they've got, you know, you got, you know, 30 days for that, you know, 60-day for payment, again, 7-day for drug. Of course, you have 60 days to file. You got 60 days to file, and then they've got 30 days to make the decision. So keep that in mind. So you've got 60 days to file, and then if it's denied at the first level, it's automatically forwarded to the IRE if you have an Advantage plan. In second level, if the IRE says, you know, upholds the, you know, the denial, you've got 60 days to file, and this is where it goes back to kind of like back to the original Medicare. It goes to the Office of Medicare Hearings and Appeals, the administrative law judge, where, you know, you've got, you know, he's got 180 days to make a decision, or longer. Here lately, it's been longer because they've just been so backed up with the pandemic. Of course, if the administrative law judge agrees with, upholds the denial, then you got 60 days to file with the Medicare Appeals Council, and then, you know, 60 days to file with the Federal District Court. So it just keeps going up. So there's still 5 levels of appeals with Medicare Advantage plan. You just started off differently. With the Medicare Advantage plan, you have to start it off with them, and they may have their own form to fill out the appeals process. Usually it'll have that in their booklet that the Advantage plan sends them on how to file an appeal. If there's any appeal forms or anything like that, that's usually with the Medicare Advantage plan. So that's why it's very important for them to start with their plan, to follow the directions in the plan's initial denial notice. So whatever that EOB or benefit summary, whatever you get from your Advantage plan, make sure you're following those directions on how to file an appeal. Again, you know, with them, they can, you know, appoint a representative. The form may look different for the Advantage plan. It really depends. Some of them use the same form as the CMS form, some don't. Just make sure, you know, you check with that health plan first. Again, you know, include any other information on that appeal. It's also a good thing if you're dealing with an Advantage plan, beneficiary that has an Advantage plan, to write their plan ID number and their Medicare number on every sheet of paper that you're going to be sending in, so that they have both. Because eventually, you know, if you go up long enough, it will be going, you know, to the Medicare contractors. So keep that in mind. I would write both of their numbers on all the papers that you're going to be sending in. Again, you know, with the health plans, you can, you know, ask for an expedited decision. And actually, these plans have longer or less, you know, time to respond. The expedited fast request, they have 72 hours to respond. Standard service request, 30 calendar days. Payment request is 60 days. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with Advantage plan. And some Advantage plans are really good at helping you walk you through this process. Of course, if your appeals and special needs plan, it's still a type of Advantage plan, so you just have to file, you know, in writing, and follow the, you know, plan's appeal process. And that looks different for each different plan, believe it or not. So how do you request a Part D appeal? So a Part D appeal is, when, your prescription drug plan has denied, coverage of a drug or something like that. So a coverage determination is the initial decision made by the plan that includes, which benefits you're entitled to get, how much you have to pay for a benefit. And they can actually ask for a coverage determination. Time frames for coverage determination requests, standard is 72 hours, expedited is 24 hours. And you have to, if it's expedited, you have to really prove that its life or, health may be seriously jeopardized without that. The plan must grant a formulary exemption type of coverage determination. All formulary alternatives aren't as effective and or drug would have adverse effects. Plan must grant an exemption to a coverage rule. So if coverage rule has been or is likely to be ineffective in treating the enrollee's condition. I know a lot of the Part D medication, sometimes you have to take like a lesser medication or more well-known medication before they'll approve, some of the newer medications. So keep that in mind, especially with the very, very expensive ones, like, the diabetic medications, some of the cancer medications. There's some of them have to prove that you've taken something, another medicine, before they will pay for that. But, you can always ask for an exemption. For example, if, your prescription drug plan or the beneficiary prescription drug plan refuses to pay for, an insulin or, for example, Symbicort, you can ask for a formulary exemption through the, the Part D plan. You would just have to call them and ask for a formulary exemption, or ask them for papers or to fill out a formulary exemption. Sometimes your doctor can actually ask for a formulary exemption for you, or the pharmacist can. So keep that in mind. If your coverage determination or exemption is denied, you can appeal that. In general, you must make your appeal request in writing. So again, it's better to do all of this in writing if you can. Plans must accept verbal expedited requests. So for Part D, if you're calling the plan, they must accept a verbal expedited request. But then you can follow up later with a written request. Time limit, limited time frame to file an appeal. Keep that in mind. As I said, appeal can be requested by you or your an appointed representative, your doctor, prescriber, pharmacist even. I've even seen pharmacists help with Part D appeals. Here's the appeal process in your prescription drug plans. You got your initial coverage determination. That's when you start your pretty much the appeal process. Either they pay for it or not. So you got 60 days to file the first appeal, and that's your standard redetermination. And you've got a 7-day time limit. And why is this faster? It's because we're dealing with medications that could be detrimental to someone. For example, if they denied a heart medicine or high blood pressure medicine or something like that. If they're not taking their high blood pressure, they could have a stroke or something like that. So that's why the time limits are a little bit closer together here. So if they still deny it after the first appeal, you got 60 days to file an appeal. They have 7-day time limit, 14-day for payment. So the second level appeal goes actually to the IRE. And then the next level, the third level, of course, goes to the Office of Medicare Hearings and Appeals, Administrative Law Judge. here they're giving him like, and there's actually an AIC. For the AIC, it's $170. So if there's medicines over $170, then the administrative law judge will hear it. Then if the administrative law judge, upholds the appeal or the denial, then Medicare Appeals Council, it goes to that. You've got, I said 60 days. Pretty much you got 60 days between each appeal to file. And of course, in order for it to go to the federal district court, the cost of the medicine has to be actually over $1,670 to go that far to the federal district court. So prescription drug plans, as I said, you have to, start the appeal process with your plan. If you need an expedited one, definitely call them first and then follow up with the forms and stuff like that afterwards. If asking to get paid back for drugs that they've already bought, the beneficiary or the prescriber must make the standard request in writing. So you have to, write your plan a letter or send them a completed model coverage determination request form. You can find this under the CMS downloads under the forms. You can just look that up. If you're asking for a prescription drug benefit you haven't gotten yet, the beneficiary or the prescriber can ask the plan for a coverage determination or exemption. To ask for a coverage determination or exemption, they can do that by filling out, that form model coverage determination request. You can do that by writing your plan a letter, call your plan. If you're asking for an exemption, your prescriber must provide a statement explaining the medical reason why the exemption should be approved. So you really need something from your doctor saying why you need this medicine instead of the other medicine or anything like that. Anything from your doctor would be helpful. Even something from your pharmacist. If your pharmacist say the other medicine is something you can't take, or it'll interact with another medicine the person's taking, anything from the pharmacist even would help. So if you didn't get the prescription yet, your prescriber can ask for an expedited request, of course. Expedited request, they got 24 hours for a fast one. Standard service request is 72 hours. And of course, payment request is 14 calendar days. So here, look for your, standard required, Part D notices. Prescription drug coverage and your rights. Most of these are usually at your, pharmacy counter. So at the pharmacy counter, whenever prescription isn't filled as written, this isn't, of course, this isn't a coverage determination. Sometimes pharmacies run out of medication and they've only got like a partial. Sometimes they'll go ahead and fill that partial and then write on the prescription, this is 20 pills of 30, so we still owe you, 10 more pills. And most of the time the pharmacist will tell the beneficiary that at their, so sorry, this is all we've got of this medication, we're out of it, we'll get a truck in tomorrow or whatever. So sometimes that does happen. So notice of denial of, Medicare prescription drug coverage. So this is just some notices that Part Ds actually do send out. So if you have an unfavorable coverage decision, include information on the next appeal level. Include this. It also includes specific filing instructions and things like that, and it'll give the reason for the denial. Appeals in the PACE program. Again, this is something you have to go through the PACE organization. They will provide you with any appeal rights if you're in a PACE program. So here's some Medicare resources. It's really good to look up CMS, some other resources. CMS actually has a Medicare Rights and Protections. It's a CMS, National Training Program. They've got, Medicare rights and protections. So it explains them, you know, Medicare rights, appeal rights, and things like that. It goes through the appeals process there. Medicare.gov, anything Medicare.gov claims and appeals. There you can actually get, you know, the Medicare redetermination request form. I mean, there's all sorts of things. Actually, Medicare has a booklet that you can get, you know, that's on Medicare appeals. It's a really good handy tool to have also, if you're having to help someone. Because I went and printed the this out from Medicare. I was trying to see if I can find you. Of course, it's in Spanish too. It's CMS product number 11525. If you want to go look up the booklet, Medicare appeals booklet from CMS. So it's CMS product number 11525, and I'll type that in the chat. Okay, so y'all can look that up. Oh, here's Adrian said she did help a lady go to level 4, but she hadn't heard anything of what happened. Okay. So, well, is it not letting me type that in? There we go. Now it went. So there's that. So, so there's some resources. Here's more resources. There's tons of resources. You know, sometimes you can get help from the Medicare Beneficiary Ombudsman. And here's how to get in contact with the Ombudsman. If you're dealing with a, you know, shipment, usually we can call the ship hotline number, or, you know, special hotline number, and ask for this case to be sent to the Ombudsman. Of course, you know, you got, you know, or there's ships up there. You've got KIPRO, who is our, you know, Beneficiary and Family Centered Care Quality Improvement Organization is KIPRO. So if someone's getting discharged from the hospital, they think too soon, they need to call KIPRO ASAP. And here's KIPRO's not email, but, you know, web address and things like that, so you can look them up. KIPRO's number is 1-888-317-0751. Just an FYI. I'll type that in the chat also. So for KIPRO, it's KEPRO. Well, KEPRO. KIPRO is 1-888-317-0751. And this is also where someone would file a quality of care complaint. So if they have, you know, issue with their doctor about their, you know, quality of care about their doctor, that's where also they file those type of complaints. Any quality of care complaints, it also goes through KIPRO. So here's some other things. Oh yeah, there's that. The Medicare and You Handbook has, you know, how to file an appeal in it. Medicare rights and protections. That's that one I was talking to you about, and of course the Medicare appeals. So there's some Medicare, you know, publications you can look at. So I'm going to give some, of course, the CMS, I said National Training Program or resource tip page, and I can actually send that out to you, email that out to you all later. So here's some tips for help, you know, filing an appeal. You know, make all appeal requests in writing. Of course, you're going to start at level 1. If you can, consolidate all similar claims into one appeal, if you can. File timely with the appropriate entity. So that's what I'm saying. Make sure you're looking at the Medicare summary notice, and you're, you know, sending it to the correct person. Another thing is, you know, included the decision letter also in that appeal. So include a copy of everything. Former decision letter, even all the decision letters that you've gotten, especially if you get up to level 2 or 3 or whatever. Include everything. Include copy of the demand letter if appealing an overpayment determination. Include all relevant supporting documents, and make sure you include a copy of everything. If a representative is helping you, make sure you include a copy of the appointment of representative form. And of course, so respond promptly to any requests for documentation, anything like that. Make sure that that they respond quickly. Make sure read the denial letters carefully. Every denial letter should explain the reason Medicare or they denied the claim. And of course, in those denial letters, it also contains the instructions on how to file the next level of appeal. Ask the providers or doctors, healthcare providers to help prepare an appeal. Sometimes just some of the wording, and I tell all the beneficiaries, or you all, I tell you, if you all need help with wording, I can help with wording on how to file on filing an appeal, because sometimes it comes down to wording. And beneficiaries, I know some of them get very frustrated. They're very frustrated because Medicare has denied something, but some of them, you have to keep some of these, the written part, short and sweet and to the point. You can't keep going and on and on and on about why they think they need to short and sweet and to the point. I said, if a beneficiary needs help filing an appeal, I really highly recommend appointing a representative. And if you can keep from the representative really needs to be like a family member or something like that. And I don't recommend us as being, volunteers as being a representative unless it's someone in your family or something like that. If there's someone in their family that can be appointed, family, friend, anybody that can be appointed a representative would be better than having one of us appointed as a representative, if we can keep from it. Now, if they don't have any other family or anything like that, talk to your volunteer coordinator first before, someone appoints you as a representative. Know that, they can actually hire legal representation if they want to. And make sure you're getting someone that actually, understands the Medicare appeals process. If they're going to hire an attorney. Again, never send, Medicare your only copy of a document. That's why you need to make sure you copy everything. Keep a record of all your interactions. You talk to Medicare on this day, you sent your documents this day, keep a record of all your of all the interactions. Create a timeline if you can, because each phase of the appeals process has its own deadline. So keeping a timeline is very helpful. Make sure we sent the appeal this day, so they've got so many days to file send us the decision. So we should expect the decision by this date, kind of thing. So timeline would be really good. And another thing, follow your progress. Sometimes you can actually check on your progress of the appeal. You would have to call, sometimes there's certain numbers in those denial letters that you can actually call for your status. And another thing that I tell beneficiaries, don't give up. Medicare appeals take time and patience, so you have to be patient. So most people actually will stop after their first denial. I tell beneficiaries, don't stop, don't give up. Keep going as long as you can. And, you know, definitely if they're requesting any documentation, anything like that, anything from you, your doctor, anything like that, make sure you're getting that to them as soon as possible. So I'm pretty much done with my, does anyone have any questions? Okay, I got a raised hand. Okay, Linda and John.
Yes. Can you send us a screen of all of these screens that you did today?
Yes, I can send you a copy of the PowerPoint or a link.
Yeah.
I'll let Olenka, because I think she's got everybody's email. So I'll let Olenka send it out to copy of the PowerPoint and some of these handouts that I've got, you know, especially the ones from Medicare. Some of the stuff that I've got from Medicare, you know, the Medicare appeals, the Medicare rights, copy of the redetermination request form. So I've got several of those that I can actually, you know, send to you all. And we were going to do that after this.
Thanks very much. And also throughout the presentation, it's just the way you talk, but you called the exception an exemption.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and yeah, if you follow it, you know, you see it on the screen as exception, but you say exemption. So
oh, sorry.
Just thought I'd mention that to you.
Oh, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Sorry about that. At least y'all know what I was talking about, right?
Right.
Okay, let's see if I got any questions in the chat box. Let's see here. Let's see. 3 important words when filing an appeal or request for exemption. Clinical objective findings to support necessity of service or item being requested. So 3 important words: clinically objective findings. Thank you, Nancy.
I'm just laughing. You're welcome. I sat at the desk and done requests, and again, I've worked in managed care. That's why, and when I'm talking to someone about appeals, that's what this is telling which work. It's not, well, I need this or whatever, because no.
Yeah.
Clinical. That's the medical pieces. And with your CPAP appeal, it's the CPAP study showing how many times did that person stop breathing during the night.
Yeah, that's why we included the sleep study.
Saturate. This is all objective. This is not the doctor or the patient or somebody else making something up.
Exactly.
Clinical record.
Yeah, exactly. I said that's why we included the sleep study, because it showed how many times he stopped breathing and all that. So it was very helpful.
There have been times I'm sitting at the desk and I was more or less that first level. I'd look it through and see, does it meet our criteria? And I'd look at it and I'd see there is one simple thing missing. I'm not allowed to deny it. That all goes to a medical director, a higher level person. But I'm looking at it thinking, I can't check off that box. It may be something very simple, and I can't call them and say, hey, send us this. It has to go through that process.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.